Hey hikers, Lee with Trailside Fitness. This mini module is on the quad. This little mini lesson comes from my larger self-care program available to hikers. In that program, I cover way more detail and techniques on things you can do while you're hiking if you're having some quad tightness, which can lead to things like knee pain. So in this mini lesson, I'm going to take you through some anatomy, a couple of techniques, a stretch, and then talk to you about exercises briefly. And with that, we'll get the tape rolling.
Let's take a quick peek at the quads and the hamstrings, and we can make this super simple. Quads on the front side, there's 4. There's really no mystery or surprise there. Quad does mean 4 after all. All of these quad muscles are gonna start from the front of your hip and then combine together and anchor below your knee. As they combine together, they form the tendon that the kneecap lives in, so the kneecap actually floats over that knee joint. As you bend your knee, that kneecap actually glides under, and then as you straighten, that kneecap comes back up toward the top. And this is going to be important because if the quad muscles are tight on the front side, it presses that kneecap into that knee joint and can create a lot of discomfort. If we can reduce the tightness in the front of these muscles, it gives that kneecap a little bit more room to breathe as it comes around that knee joint. These 4 quads each work as a team to pull that kneecap and keep it centered in the front of this knuckle created by your leg bone. The quad muscle on the inside pulls the kneecap up and in. The 2 muscles across the top pull it upward, and the one on the outside helps to guide it toward the outside. If there's an imbalance in any of these 4 quad muscles, it's typically the one on the inside, and that can be for a number of reasons. The biggest problem with the imbalance between the inside quad and the other 3 is that when you bend your knee and that inside quad muscle is weak, that kneecap is now going to drift up and out to the side a little bit. And that can cause a lot of pain and discomfort behind your kneecap and on the outside edge of it. So it might feel like there's some grinding, or if you do lunges, stairs, squats, or just hike uphill, a lot of times that might be where you feel that pain and discomfort, and it's because that inside quad muscle isn't strong enough to help pull that kneecap up and in. So now we're just kind of drifting it to the outside and up, as opposed to straight up in the middle where it needs to be. And taking a look at the hamstrings, you've got 3. And they all start at the same spot, which is the bottom of the hip bone, kind of what you would traditionally think of as your sit bone. 2 of them come down and anchor inside of the knee, and then 1 on the outside. It's got a couple of different anchor points there. The hamstrings work to bend the knee, the quads work to straighten it out. And that pretty much ties up the anatomy for the hamstrings and quads.
Diving in with the trekking pole is going to be a nice, effective way to target those quad muscles. This technique is going to be a lot of the similar ones that we used for the rock, so we're going to remember that contract, relax, and just general relaxation in general. That slow and steady is also going to be really important here as well. With the trekking pole and using both hands, you'll notice you'll be able to really push down and get deep into the muscle, which a lot of times is where some of these issues live. With this trekking pole, we're going to nice, steady pressure as we glide down the muscle toward the knee. You can also rock the trekking pole right to left a little bit to work all different phases of the muscle, working the inside and the outside of the leg. You can even work at different angles since these muscle fibers don't all run straight up and down. Some of them do run at different angles, so just playing with different angles and position as you roll through the top of the leg. Another great way to target the quads is by using one of these cork rology balls. For these, I just lay on my stomach and I park that ball right on the meat of the muscle on the front side. Here, you can rock your leg right to left. So kind of putting that foot in the air and then moving it side to side. You can also bend and straighten your leg as you move. And that's really going to change the intensity of this mobilization. So spend some time working up and down the leg, in and out, and then moving your leg kind of as you go. And as we move on now to the VMO, so this is the middle quad that we talked about that helps pull that kneecap up and in. And VMO is just short for vastus medialis oblique. So with this technique, I'm kind of outline where that VMO is, that little teardrop shape, and I'm pointing right to where the top of that muscle is. This area tends to be really uncomfortable, and I think it's because there's a lot of connective tissue that comes into this area, so it's kind of sensory and nerve rich. So it's going to be a little uncomfortable there, and actually makes a pretty good spot to start. You can really adjust your pressure here as needed, or you can work above or below this area if it's just a little too uncomfortable on this spot. You'll know when you find it. Using different parts of the rock here, we can rock right to left through that muscle. We can also wiggle a little bit and glide up and down through that tissue as best we can. This muscle does come right down into the top of the knee, so kind of working from that middle thigh all the way down toward the knee is going to be a good bet. Sampson stretch, I like this stretch a lot for a few reasons. One, I can stretch the front of my leg and hit those quads and some of the other hip muscles. And two, I get to stretch my sides a little bit, which sometimes just feel like they really need a good stretching out. So for this one, you're assuming that lunge, that bottom lunge position, and I lean forward a little bit to create a little bit of an angle in that back leg. And then from here, I just reach my arms overhead, grab a wrist, and then pull and lean to the opposite side, and then roll and lean toward the same side. So you're kind of working both sides of the stretch here. And then you'll switch legs, so the right leg is in front, now the left leg will go in front, and you'll just repeat that side to side bend. This one is fantastic and a great way to wind down at the end of the day. Thankfully, exercises for the hamstrings and quad are bountiful. So you can do lots of things. Lunges, deadlifts, and squats are perfect. There's also a lot of single leg variations, so things like step ups, rear elevated split squats, single leg deadlifts, and then covering all the different angles as well. So front lunges and back lunges, for example, or lunges at an angle are perfect.